We have always operated under a simple, sacred assumption. When you exchange your money for a machine, that machine becomes yours. You own the motors, the frame, the hot end. And critically, you own the digital brain that tells it what to do. But there is a bill moving through the Washington State Legislature right now. It's House Bill 2321 that quietly, without a single headline about rights, ends the concept of ownership forever. Most people look at this bill and see a safety measure. They see headlines about blocking dangerous prints and they nod their heads along with it. But they are missing the Trojan horse. Hidden inside this bill is a mandate that effectively requires 3D printer manufacturers to lock you out of your own hardware. This isn't just a ban on what you can print, this is a ban on how you use your machine. This is the government stepping between you and your stepper motors and saying, hey, you are no longer the admin of this device, we are. If this bill passes, the era of the maker quite literally could be over. The era of the consumer who rents permission to use a device has just begun. Let's look at the language. The bill requires that all 3D printers sold or transferred in the state of Washington must contain blocking features managed by a software control process. Now, this doesn't just affect Washington. New York has a similar bill, and I promise you, if they get it in this state, they're going to roll it out to all the others. Now, this process must verify every single design against a state-managed database before the printer is even allowed to heat the nozzle. Now, stop for a second. Think about that from an engineering perspective. How do you guarantee, under penalty of perjury, that these blocking features are always active? There is only really one way. You must prevent the user from turning them off. And how do you prevent a user from disabling a software feature? You lock the operating system, you encrypt the firmware, and you remove root access. If I can plug in a USB cable and flash firmware that doesn't check the state database, then the manufacturer is out of compliance. To follow the law, they have to treat you, the owner, as a security threat. They have to wall you out. This is the death of the tinkerer, because tinkering is modification, and modification under HB-2321 is a liability. This is where it gets devastating. Right now, the lifeblood of high-performance 3D printing is custom firmware. We've taken $200 machines and made them perform like $3,000 machines because we had access to the brains. Under this bill, that access disappears. If a manufacturer allows you to install vanilla or custom clipper, then they are allowing software that does not contain the government's blocking code. That makes the printer illegal to sell. Now, supporting Clipper becomes a legal risk. We are heading towards a future where every printer ships with a locked bootloader, like a carrier-locked smartphone from 2010. You want to upgrade your hot end, change a thermistor value, edit a config file? Too bad. You don't have write access. We are moving from general-purpose creative tools to locked-down appliances. Your 3D printer essentially becomes a toaster. You can put bread in, you can get toast out, but you are forbidden from opening the chassis to see how it works. Before we continue, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Most companies run for the hills when creators talk about government bans, kill switches, or dangerous freedoms. They want safe content, sterile content. But Polymaker is built different. They are my official filament sponsor, and not just because they make some of the best materials on the planet, but because they actually believe in the ethos of this community. They understand that making isn't just about printing toys, it's about freedom to bring any idea into reality. While others sit quietly, Polymaker is standing right here alongside you and me. If you want to support a company that supports your rights to create, stock up using the link on the screen and in the description. Show them the same loyalty that they've showed us. I already hear the comments, loyal, we'll just use open source. They can't ban open source. I wish that were true. Open source software needs hardware to run on. And if manufacturers are legally forced to lock their hardware, your open source firmware has nowhere to live. You can have all the Clipper code that you want on GitHub, but if the main board rejects the flash because it isn't digitally signed, then the code is useless. And think about the maintainers. Are volunteers going to integrate government-mandated spyware into clean open source projects? Absolutely not. And even if they wanted to, they don't have access to the proprietary state database. Here's that paradox. To be legal, the firmware must contain that spyware. To be open source, it usually rejects proprietary blobs. The result? Legal printers can't run open source, and open source becomes functionally illegal. They aren't banning it outright. They're just making it impossible to use. Now, there is a place for both open and closed source software, but banning open source solutions, that's where the line gets crossed. This isn't just dangerous for 3D printing, it's dangerous for technology itself. This is a right to repair issue, disguised as a safety issue. We have seen this before. John Deere tractors, Apple pairing parts. But this is worse. This is the government mandating that companies prevent you from repairing your own device. Your printer becomes a black box. When it breaks, you replace it. You don't fix it, you don't upgrade it. You buy another compliant unit. More e-waste, more dependency. You don't own technology anymore, you lease functionality until support ends. Every breakthrough we enjoy today came from people with root access. Silent steppers, pressure advance, Clipper itself, not from boardrooms, from garages, from RepRap, from people hacking hardware. Lock the firmware and innovation freezes. You create a ceiling that no one is allowed to break. The next great leap? It never happens because the kid who would have invented it was locked out of his 3D printer. We are trading our future for a false sense of security. If they can do this to printers, then they can do it to anything. In the bill is already included CNC machines, laser cutters. But what about your PC? If a machine might be misused, does that justify removing root access? Should Windows scan your hard drive and delete files it doesn't like? This bill sets a terrifying precedent. Everyone becomes a criminal in waiting. Some of you have asked why we keep making videos about this bill. But the truth is, I can't take a look at printers while someone is turning it into a paperweight. They become useless and they won't even ship them to me. This isn't news. This is an extinction level event for the entire hobby, and I refuse to sit quietly while the walls close in. If you want a channel that fights for your right to own, to repair, and to create, then hit that subscribe button. We're not stopping. This was never about firearms. If you want to stop crime, you enforce the laws against criminals. You don't block the tools of engineers, artists, and students. HB-2321 is an attack on the right to tinker, on ownership, on curiosity itself. Make noise. Explain what this really does. Don't let them lock the bootloader on our future. Stay loud, stay free, and keep printing while we still can.